Hi, welcome back to another episode of Tape Time with Tom. My name is Chris. So recently, the AFI Silver in Silver Spring, Maryland had a pseudo marathon over the course of February and March where they projected some movies on 70 millimeter. They first played Napoleon, then they went into Tenet, then Dune Part 2, and then most recently they played Lawrence of Arabia. And now I've already done videos for Tenet and Napoleon, and I'm still slowly working on a video for the Dune Part 2 release and stuff. But today's video is all going to be about Lawrence of Arabia and specifically its most recent projection on 70 millimeter, which was a lot of fun. So, as a brief recap, Lawrence of Arabia is an Oscar winning movie released in 1962, directed by David Lean and starring Peter O'Toole in his first starring role, actually. Lawrence of Arabia won 7 out of 10 Academy Awards for that year. It was nominated and won for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction, Best Sound, Best Film Editing, and Best Score. The Best Director win was for David Lean, if I didn't already mention that. The nominees that did not win, unfortunately, were for Best Actor in a Leading Role, Peter O'Toole, the Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Omar Sharif, and the Best Writing based on a screenplay of a material from another form, which is based on, actually, this book, which I happened to find at a library sale a couple years ago. The Seven Pillars of Wisdom, A Triumph, the complete 1922 text. So I have not had a chance to read this yet, but I plan to at some point in the future. So I remember watching Lawrence of Arabia for the first time, probably sometime in high school. So I had a copy of Lawrence of Arabia on DVD that was one of those discs that was double-sided, and I hate double-sided DVDs with an utmost passion and hatred, since these double-sided discs don't have like a good label for which side is which. I'm pretty sure I watched Dr. Zhivago from the end of the intermission to the end of the movie, and then I watched it from the beginning to the into the middle. So I really hate those DVDs, and the quality of that DVD was, of Lawrence of Arabia when I watched it in high school was, acceptable. I'm pretty sure I was just going through like the AFI top 100, just trying to see as many as I can. So it wasn't the best experience. It's one of those times where it's like you're watching, it's an important movie, and you're trying to enjoy it as best as possible, but due to the quality of the format, it's just like it's okay. You're kind of like mid, as unfortunate as it sounds. Cut ahead a couple of years later in 2021, the AFI also, I'm pretty sure they were having come back to the theater after COVID and everything, getting people to go see movies back in theaters by showing like big screen, classically theatrical movies. And well, I took some of my family and we watched Lawrence of Arabia. It was just a normal like DCP, like a 4K restoration and everything. And following that time, I got the movie. I understood where it was coming from. It was just like an astounding piece of filmmaking. It's one of those movies that needs to be seen on the big screen in order to like unlock in your brain and everything. So highly recommend that, and we'll go into that later and everything. But then cut ahead three years later, and then I finally got to see this projected on a film print, and boy, does that look great. So the whole point of this video is really just to discuss my viewing of the 70 millimeter Lawrence of Arabia projection at the AFI Silver. And easy answer, it's great. So I'll just go ahead and throw this out there right now, and I'm sure I'll get mentioned it again later. But it's one of those movies that you got to go see in theaters, and if it's playing on film, you definitely got to go see that because it is astounding. Yeah, so Lawrence of Arabia is often on it's one of those movies that's mentioned in a lot of top 10 lists you'll see online, on YouTube, and on other books and everything. You'll see it in such lists of like, hey, best cuts, best shots, best whatchamacallit. It doesn't really matter. It's often remembered, and rightfully so, but if your only awareness of the movie is through these pop culture vignettes, then you're only getting a small portion of the whole movie. It's worth going and watching the nearly 4 hours and experiencing it in a theatrical setting, and it's definitely worth it. So I don't really have any hot takes for the movie. I'm not going to be like, hey, Lawrence of Arabia is actually pretty bad, but or anything like that. But it's all I really want to try to do for this video is just highlight some specific scenes for A, if you've never seen the movie before, just to look out for them. But also B, if you've seen the movie before and haven't seen it in a while, like pay attention to these specific areas just so you could have a greater appreciation at the very least, because these are some of the things that kind of stuck out for me upon these two most recent rewatches. So north of the intermission, there's a leave no prisoners sequence when Lawrence has gathered an army and they're heading towards, I'm blanking on where it is right now, I'll throw it on the screen. They encounter a retreating Turkish army. It's not like they're defenseless, they're just like they're not ready to fight, but Lawrence and his army, they're ready to fight, and through some egging on and everything, they do this whole leave no prisoner sequence and they slaughter them. Not really spoiler, it's kind of like inferred if you're watching the movie, so I don't think it's really spoiling too much right now, but it's one of those sequences that is utterly haunting, and it's one of the best encapsulations of like a character's inner turmoil on screen. Plus, it's one of the most devastating battle sequences you could probably watch in a film. So highly recommend that, like looking out for that sequence at the very least. I guess other sequences are kind of more linked to performances. And this is just kind of like my segue into just paying attention to specific performances in the movie that I think otherwise would be unlooked. Like I know Peter O'Toole is the namesake, and that's the one that most people are going to be talking about. Plus Omar Sharif, he does another fantastic job, also star of Dr. Zhivago. So what I want folks to pay attention to on their next rewatch, or at the very least if you're watching it for the first time, just like, oh yeah, Chris mentioned that guy, let's watch out for him. It's specifically for one character in particular. He's only appears after the intermission. He is played by, I think, was it Arthur Kennedy? He plays a newspaper man from America named Jackson Bentley. He's a really interesting character. He's kind of like the Raymond Burr in Godzilla, King of the Monsters, but not really. I'm pretty sure he's based on a real character, if not like a conglomeration of folks, but he is a character that's introduced in the second half of the movie after the intermission, where he kind of recaps what has already happened so far by interviewing a couple of folks, King Faisal, Alec Guinness's character specifically, but also he interviews and he talks with Lawrence of Arabia, and he's there taking pictures of them during one of their train heist sequences and everything. Well, not really a heist, they're blowing up a train, but it allows him to comment on what has happened already previously, and whilst also critiquing Lawrence specifically and his actions. And I think it's necessary. He is a very interesting character, and I'm really glad that they chose to have this. I know it may seem jarring to introduce a new character midway through a movie, but I think it really works well. So check out Arthur Kennedy as Jackson Bentley next time around you're watching this. And then the only other character that I really want to highlight, but it's Claude Rains as Dryden. Yeah. So Dryden is one of those folks that is an ally. I guess this kind of goes into spoiler territory just a little bit, but it's also like the language of the cinema will dictate his true intentions. Dryden is an ally to Lawrence earlier on in the movie. And then, naturally, as things progress, he becomes less than an ally. I think Dryden, this specifically, is... I don't know. It's 1962. I haven't taken, high school history in a while. I don't remember when all that kind of stuff happens, but I'm willing to bet this Dryden character, it represents all the negative aspects of Western influences on the Middle Eastern countries and everything. And I think it's this desire for control and oil. And this Dryden character doesn't care what happens while over there. All that matters is that they get this signed document saying that they have, It's a treaty, it's that whole sequence at the very end. And if you know, you know, and everything. So all this to say is Claude Rains is becoming one of my favorite actors, watching him over the past couple of years. And one of the reasons specifically is his performance of Dryden in Lawrence of Arabia. It's very haunting, and it's one, if you think about it, it's one of the scariest portrayals of a character in a non-horror movie. I'm afraid that that's not like implying certain connotations for the character, but like it's very much if you think about it, you'll see what I mean. And hopefully you do. So yeah, so the 70 millimeter print that played at the AFI, I saw this projected on early April. It played for a couple days. It wasn't like a full run of it. I think there's only maybe 4 or 5 70 millimeter projections, and then it was like a full week of like the DCP and everything. The print looked great, and I love this. Is it kind of like Space Odyssey? It's one of those movies that just looks amazing on the big screen, and it looks even better watching it in the way that it was intended and made for back in the day on an actual film print. You'll see the film grain, you'll see all the scratches. It's all the stuff that like people think they don't want, but like when you're watching it in theaters, it feels more authentic. It feels lived in. It feels real, and you know that there's only a finite amount of time left on these prints, and you know that you're going to enjoy it every single time it threads through the projector. It's utterly amazing to watch. The color, the sound, man. Definitely check out the AFI. They have a great sound system, at least I think so. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to jot any notes down specifically, but I'm pretty sure this film print was restored, kind of like what this VHS tape was mentioning on the back of it. It was a director's cut and everything. I'm pretty sure this print was restored in the late 90s or early 2000s. I might be mixing this up with another film print I saw recently, which will be another surprise video later on. But this was this was not an authentic 1962 70 millimeter print. This was something that was restored for theatrical purposes, I think in the late 90s. I'm willing to bet. If someone else has a better estimation, throw it up in the comments. But yeah, as kind of like a final thoughts for the movie, it's crazy how Peter O'Toole didn't win Best Actor. Like this is his first starring role, I think. His first, like he might have had like a singular supporting role somewhere. I need to double check that. But this was his first time like being the lead in a movie. And it's crazy how he didn't win Best Actor. And I would have bet money if I didn't remember, basically. But looking back on the Oscars for that year, it makes sense. Gregory Peck won for To Kill a Mockingbird. I get it, but also that is a tight race. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. Also, Omar Sharif, he did a fantastic job. I didn't get a chance to see who won Best Supporting Actor, but Omar Sharif is great, and I love seeing him pop up in movies. And I love how like David Lynch is like, you know what, this guy's great. Let's go ahead and make him the lead of Dr. Zhivago. You know, so my buddy Steve, who you've seen on the Legend as well as the Texas Chainsaw video commentaries, he has a list of movies that he is waiting to see in theaters for the first time. Lawrence of Arabia is one of them. On my list, I have Ben-Hur and Mulholland Drive. Maybe this is the hot take for the video, but I would recommend, if you have not seen Lawrence of Arabia yet, I would recommend, and if you want to, of course, I'm not forcing, no one's forcing you to do anything. This is, it's just a sign. If you have not seen the movie and you want to see the movie, I would recommend waiting and going to see it in a cinema. If you have to go rent out like a movie theater screening, I know they did that a couple times during COVID and everything stuff, but if you either have to rent out a theater or if you get lucky enough to have a print of it showing near you, I would recommend waiting to go see this for the first time in theaters versus watching it on a shitty DVD that you don't know which side is which, basically. I highly recommend that. This is my hot take, I suppose, but it's worth it. And because I have a feeling like me, if you watch this at home on your laptop, on a TV, even if it is like a nice Blu-ray and everything, you're gonna just get distracted. You're gonna get it on your phone, And it's going to be a matter of not giving it the patience and not giving it the attention. It's kind of like repetitive saying like this movie needs your attention and like it deserves it. But I think allowing yourself to be washed over in a theater watching Lawrence of Arabia is the right way to watch the movie, at least for the first time. And if you've seen this movie many times, just throw it on the DVD afterwards. But if you haven't seen it in a long time, if you're waiting, or if you haven't seen it at all, I recommend waiting for it to come to your town. And if you need to like make it happen, then I'd say go make it happen. But it's one of the best movies of all time. Is indicative of the fact that it's on many top 10 lists around the world and everything. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. It's amazing. Definitely go watch it. Well, that's all, folks. Thank you for joining us. That's Tape Time with Tom. My name is Chris. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be having a lot more video essays, event recaps, movie commentaries, and VHS hauls in the future. Yeah. So that's it. Always rewind. But more importantly, be kind. See you guys later.